What is going on? I am Matt O'Leary back with another video, and today I am excited to talk about the New York Jets defensive line as they absolutely dominated the Carolina Panthers yesterday. Before we get started, Matt O'Leary NY on social media, and don't forget the Just Jets podcast. New episodes air every single Wednesday, so make sure to call in and leave me your questions or comments for the program. Okay, so keep in mind that a couple of things. Number one, before we get into this video, there were four guys not playing on the defensive line, and those four guys will more than likely be the Jets starting four with Carl Lawson, Quinnen Williams, John Franklin Myers, and Al Woods. Those four veterans did not play, but still the defensive line was downright dominant. And yes, by the way, the Carolina Panthers starters played about 3 series, so no, it wasn't all against, third string guys. You had the Jets defensive line really dominating from the first snap. The defense impressed me a ton yesterday, specifically the defensive line, which totaled 5 sacks, including a strip sack from the recently signed Bruce Hector. That's right, from the XFL into the NFL preseason, comes away with a strip sack. Good for him. He's fighting for a roster spot. Unfortunately, I think has an uphill battle because just how good this defensive line is and how deep they are, but glad to see him come up with a big play in this game. All right, let's get it started with Jermaine Johnson, who is the Jets' first-round pick from the 2022 NFL Draft, one of the 3 first-round picks. And I've said this a lot, and I might sound like a broken record saying this, but he was kind of the forgotten guy from that draft class, as you have Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson, who were the Rookie of the Years on the defensive side of the ball and the offensive side of the ball. And I almost said Bryce Hall, but it is Breece Hall, who almost won, or would have probably won, the Offensive Rookie of the Year if he didn't go down with an injury. He was also dominant. So 3 of the top 4 picks for the Jets came in, immediate impact. And Jermaine, I wouldn't say he had a bad rookie season. He wasn't stellar. He was, I thought, looked like an average rookie where he had a couple of nice moments that got you excited. For instance, the sack against Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. And he was good setting the edge in the run game. But I don't know what he has done differently. Obviously, he's put on some muscle. He's changed his number to number 11 and just looks like a completely different person. His sack with the spin move turned into bull rush was impressive. Really, really impressive stuff. You were not seeing this from him last year, and that's not the kind of player that he was, in college and coming out. Good run defender who would kind of be like, I'm going to clean up the mess sacks, someone who maybe gives you a 6 in a season, who is solid, but a lot of it is, cleaning up the mess, where in this instance with this sack, he's doing the work. The spin move into the bull rush is impressive. Really, really impressive rep coming away with Jermaine Johnson to come away with the sack. You also had Bryce Huff doing his thing early and often against Ike Ekwonu, who is a starting offensive tackle, a top pick in the NFL draft. He was drafted by the Carolina Panthers last year, and Bryce Huff just abused him pretty badly on this rep here. Love to see that. He was very, very involved. He picked up a half a sack later, that QB hit. Just he will always be involved in getting after the quarterback, and love to see that in this instance again yesterday against the Carolina Panthers. And Will McDonald, of course, comes away with his first sack. He was impressive in his debut in the preseason game against the Cleveland Browns in the Hall of Fame game. This week against the Carolina Panthers comes away with a sack and has shown up well and is going to be a part of this rotation. I know that the main 4 guys who I listed off at the top who didn't dress, JFM, Quinnen, Al Woods, and Carl Lawson, those 4 guys you think are going to have a significant amount of the reps, but this Jets defensive line, they are so deep. Like, Will McDonald, Bryce Huff, and Jermaine Johnson, those 3 in particular, are really going to be fighting for starting reps. Most of this Jets second line, and don't forget like Quentin Jefferson, guys like that, Michael Clemens, who didn't play in this game, these guys would start on a lot of defensive lines in football. It's really, really impressive. And honestly, I think their numbers are only going to go up from this year as a complete unit. So let me put it in perspective of where they finished last year in some key stats. They ranked 7th in the NFL in sacks, 2nd in QB knockdowns, and 6th in pressures. And while the defensive line was, and the defense in general was really stellar last year, that was the calling card for this New York Jets team last year was just how impressive this defense is. A lot of people are maybe expecting a little bit of a regression because of, they were just so healthy on that side of the ball, and injuries are part of the game, and it's hard to replicate that exact kind of success that you saw. All those things, which is fair concerns and fair criticism, but a reason why, at least from the pressures and sack and defensive line department, why I think they could get better is something that I've talked about earlier in this offseason, was the addition of Aaron Rodgers. If the Jets are playing with a lead instead of behind in a games, that will force teams to throw the football more. Jets teams were playing, or the Jets opponents rather, were playing extremely, extremely conservative against them because they, number one, either had the lead, or number two, knew they were going up against frankly, a backup level quarterback who they're not going to throw you out of a game. Like the Jets last year, how they were built, were not going to outscore you throwing the ball. They were going to play really good defense. They were going to have a quarterback who managed the game. For instance, like the Jets' best wins last year against the Packers, great defense, opportune scoring, opportune throws when needed. Comeback win against the Steelers, the game against the Bills, or the game against the Dolphins, really on the backs of the defense. The only time you really saw the offensive explosion, I know they put up, 40 points against Miami, but a lot of it was on the backs of really good defensive play, was the Mike White game against the Bears, which the Bears had arguably the worst defense in football last year, and that was just such a bizarre Mike White game, but which is funny. He has about one of those a year. But moral of the story is, with the Jets expected to play with more leads, their opponents are going to have to throw the ball more, thus leading to more sacks and more exposure for just how good this defensive line is. To me, it's the Jets, the 49ers, and the Eagles for the three teams that are in the conversation for the best defensive line in the sport. I think it's really, really close. The Jets are close. I don't know if I would put them again over those two teams yet, just because the two have been there and done that a ton, but man, how could you not be excited? And I know it's a preseason game and we don't want to get like too way out in front, but again, this was without the Jets starters. This is the depth guys, the rotation guys that were just absolutely dominating in this game. And that's no Quinnen, no JFM, no Al Woods, no Carl Lawson. This unit has a chance to be really, really special, and I'm excited about that. So I want to hear from you. What were your thoughts on the defensive line yesterday? Sound off in the comments. Once again, I'm Matt O'Leary, and I will catch you next time.